You know who make the best and the dopest conscious content is the God bearded Heru. Please follow that bearded Heru on IG, and the only one worth rocking with to either get it done or to watch something to titillate your own pineal. Bearded Heru on IG, man, hit him up. Always prime content, and it's always gonna be A1 from the source.
Indeed. Appreciate it, my brother.
Why they keep on calling my name?
Peace. It's the bearded Heru, and everything is real. Let's build. Alright, once again today, building with my brother Bilal. We're gonna build on a couple topics today. Just checking this temperature on how you feeling about things today. How you doing, my brother? Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum. Alhamdulillah. All praises due to Allah. I can't complain at all.
So my brother, normally, man, we do a lot of world traveling and we talk about everything that's going on around the world. Brother, I want to take just a small turn. How you feel about making Georgia? How you feel about making Georgia in terms of the direction you see the community going?
In the direction that I see the community going now, it don't seem to be going in the right direction. Only because there's no unity, there's no culture. I won't say there's no culture, but all of them are a little too separated. There's the Christian paradigm, and within that, there's sub-paradigms. There's Episcopalian, Methodist, Presbyterian, Baptist, Southern Baptist, Primitive, but all of these entities exist in their own little circle of thought and teachings, and don't ever try to connect with anybody else that also loves and praises Jesus. They just maybe hear the teachings a little bit different. I mean, it's the same thing with the couple of schools of Islam we got here. There's Wardeen Mosque, but they don't really affiliate with the mosque that got the Arabs in it. The Arab mosque don't really affiliate with the brothers at the Wardeen Mosque. The Arab mosque here in Macon don't really affiliate too much with the mosque in Warner Robins, because the mosque in Warner Robins got an imam from Guinea, West Africa, leading all the prayers. So you can only imagine how some people that are still stuck in that separative, racist, I'm better than you mind state, as an Arab, a proud Arab, proud of his country and his holy Quran that he got memorized, as a black guy from West Africa that can chant that book better than he can. It's too much separation. They ought to realize that this little spark within me that makes me live and be and eat and digest food and wake up and go to sleep and all these wonderful things this body can do exists within that black imam from Guinea. It exists within the Arab mosque. It exists in the Christian church. Don't matter whether it's Catholic, Methodist, Presbyterian, Holiness, Episcopalian, Primitive, or whatever. It exists in all of those places. Every single one of these prophets that they came and with a book, like every single one of them brought the truth from God. And none of the prophets brought anything that was false. We just misunderstood what they brought. Or we rewrote it so much that we got so far away from what they brought that we can't see the original no more. I wonder why we can't see the original. Go back 2 videos and we were talking about being trapped inside of this thing. So now everything that I get taught, I apply to something that look like this. So if I get taught about this Christ principle, but it's taught to me from the perspective of a physical, blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy in the desert, mind you, we won't go into the science on that, but if I'm taught that this Christ principle is just that, outside of myself, and it has all of this divinity within it, I can't ascribe any of that divinity to myself, because this paradigm has put it all into this particular person. Now I can't even apply that Christ principle perfectly. I can't say perfectly, but in a good manner, because now all that I understand about it, or think I know about it, I'm projecting on the outside of me. I'm not looking on the inside to find that same peace. Christ came and taught peace. Christ came and taught meditation. What was he doing in the Garden of Gethsemane? Sitting down, praying, and meditating and communing with God. Oh, synchronicity. What was Muhammad doing up in the caves before the first verse of the Quran was revealed to him? Meditating. He didn't get nothing from on high from Allah at all till he sat down and he shut up and listened to what God had to say. Buddha didn't get all that stuff that he got from reading and studying no books. Buddha got tired of seeing all the bull crap out here in the world and went to go sit up under a tree in the forest and let God talk to him and tell him all of that stuff that he knew. Buddha didn't study from no master teacher or anything like that. But he came and taught that same peace. He came and taught that same unified culture, that unified way of living, so that if I act in a certain way, according with the teachings that any of these prophets brought, and everybody in my family does, and everybody in my neighborhood does, and everybody in my city does, and the town, and in the state, and in the country does, now we have a unified culture that is based off of something that is transcended the need for a religion at all. Because now we've seen the synchronicity. We've seen what all of these prophets came with was the exact same thing, and it was the bona fide truth. Don't it say in the Quran, like Allah reveals that we shouldn't make any distinction between any of the prophets? Don't make any distinction between any of them. So I'm not going to run around and say Muhammad came and brought the truth and nobody else brought no truth. But meanwhile, Jesus' name in the Quran more time than Muhammad's is. I can't take that truth away from him because he came with it. Just because I wasn't born into that, I can't say that Buddha didn't come with no truth because I didn't study any of his teachings because he came with it. What he taught over there and what the people are practicing have made themselves into a unified culture and society to the point that now when you ask a Buddhist what his religion is, there's no word for that for them. They don't call Buddhism a religion. That's just how they live. That's their way of life. We can do that as a Christian. We can do that as a Muslim. We can do that as a Buddhist. We can do that as a Sufi or any of the other groups because you'll listen to what that prophet says, what that book says. Don't make any distinction between any other message that came with something that was truthful from God, especially if it's applicable. So if Christian run around and tells me to chant the name of God on Mani Padme Hum, 108 times over and over throughout the course of the day, and he did it to reach this heightened state of reality and union with God, then I'd be robbing myself to run around and just do it 1 or 2 times and put the bees down. Gonna do that 108 and multiply it by another 108. Shoot on off in the ether. Like it's possible to do, but that's all from that same truth that all those prophets brought. Hear ye, O Israel, the Lord thy God is one.
More fire, more fire.
Much fire.
So my brother, you was just dealing with synchronicity, and that's what we was talking about yesterday and today on the phone. Brother, how important it is for the world to have any kind of synchronicity, whether it be on the city level, state level, or even the world level. How important is synchronicity?
It's almost an unspoken language. Like I could look on that sister's face that just left and tell that she lives and carries herself in a certain way because she in tune. You could see the glow on her face, so you could tell that she don't eat no crap. You can tell she don't drink no sodas. You can tell she don't eat pork. You can tell that she's serious about her craft and what she's studying. Every time she shows up, she got a book bag full of books, and they're not uncreased books. They're not books that got a bookmark on the first 4 pages that ain't never been opened again. Like she getting in them books. But it brings something that nobody else can take away from us. Because now when I walk up to a brother that might be a Hebrew Israelite, and I can clearly tell that based on how he carry himself, and to him I look like we won't go there. To him I look like a Muslim, I guess. And I turn around and greet him with Shalom Aleichem, or I just give him the Shalom, Shabbat Shalom if it's on a Saturday. Just to see where he at. Like my boy said, test his temperature. Every now and then, if the synchronicity works properly, that Hebrew Israelite brother who's supposed to give me a Shalom is going to say that word a little differently and give me a Salam back in the Arabic language, because it's literally the same thing. Yeshua came and taught peace, goodwill unto men. Muhammad came and taught the same thing, peace, goodwill unto men. You just call it something different in Arabic. Same thing with any other paradigm. When I see a Indian guy at the gas station, like of course I know most of us don't like them because they're in the hood. That's another video. We won't go there today, but read the Bhagavad Gita, look at some of the diagrams and the photos in there, and look at this picture of this Godhead telling this lower self what to do on this battlefield, and then see that it's the exact same story that you get from so-called another system, like Muhammad and Ali. Muhammad was peaceful. Muhammad wanted to bring Islam in peacefully, but Ali coming in with the sword and the jihad. You have to understand that it's all really the same story retold in a different language but able to be applied to the people of that day and that time and in that culture. Those people aren't wrong because they don't pray to Jesus over in Saudi Arabia, or Muslims don't pray to Jesus. But if you ever see one at the store or in the flea market with his head covered on with some beads around his neck, walk up to him and ask him how does he feel about Jesus. You're going to see that Muslim smile so damn hard, sorry for cussing, because that Muslim loves Jesus just as much as y'all Christians do. Y'all just don't talk to him enough to find out. Because some of them understand the synchronicity. Same thing with me and some of the other brothers. I'm probably the only Muslim I know that goes to this Arab mosque that has a library with Buddhist books in it, Bhagavad Gita, PDFs of the Mahabharata, Hindu epics, Tantras, Sutras, Sufism, Comedic science, Gnosticism, Christianity, Judaism. Because in each one of those books, the prophet or the messenger that's given this teaching is bringing the exact same thing: peace, love, unity, justice. Primary thing is that you word, the unity. Jesus came through and said, "Hear ye, O Israel, the Lord thy God is one." Muhammad come in and said, "Kul hu Allahu ahad," say Allah, He is one. The Taoists and the Taoists will tell you that there is only the Tao. There is only the Tao. If anything else exists, then it doesn't, because the Tao is the only thing that exists. But the Tao, God, Allah, is that undescribable thing that we try to ascribe things to. How in the world can we separate it when we don't even know it in its fullness to say that my way of understanding this God is correct and yours isn't? When it works. I chant La ilaha illallah thousands of times a day. There's no God but Allah. There's no existence but this divine reality. And whatever I'm going through or feeling when I'm talking and chanting and communing with God at that point, I feel like he replies to my inquiry. Now, who am I to say that my grandma, who's been a lifelong Christian, who I love with all my heart, when she's going through something and all she does is say, Jesus, 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 until she just don't want to say it no more, because she can't say it no more. But she done tarried that name so much and had that thought that she wanted Jesus to help her through, that eventually she got through. So who am I to say that it didn't work? I wouldn't dare say that he ain't real. I just don't pray to him at all.
More fire. Since we are traveling down the path of synchronicity, right? We could make an assumption, or we could conclude, right, since we're dealing with synchronicity, that Jesus, Allah, Krishna, Buddha, Yahshua, everybody is the same thing.
Facts. Dang, couldn't have been more factual. We'll say in the Sufi world that the light that comes from Allah that created the Nur Muhammad, which comes down in the 3 stages to create Muhammad, the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, is the exact same light that God sent and manifested through Jesus, peace be upon him as well. And that light brought the teaching that was needed for that particular day and time with them people. But it was the same light. Hear ye, O Israel, the Lord thy God is one. Kul hu Allahu ahad. So if it's one, why would he send 2 different color lights? We the same people. Quran says we are one ummah. It's just one human family, like not race, because you got to try to see past all that. As much as I can't stand as much as certain types of people perturb me in this particular day and age, like we got to learn how to see past all that, because if we don't, then we're still stuck in a dualistic mind state and we can't understand the synchronicity between us all. It's like Jesus works for a Christian, Allah works for a Muslim, Om works for a Hindu or a Buddhist. It's the exact same thing. So this light, this nur, this spirit, this source that comes from God, from Allah, the Quran says not to make any distinctions between it. It's telling you not to make any distinctions between it, but what it's really telling you is that you can't, even if you try it, the light's too bright. You can't make any distinction between it. Something unknowable, Allah, Olodumare Chukwu, God, whatever name you want to call it, sent this force down to manifest over and over and over. You can't say it anymore, because when you think about how many times God sent this light down here to save our asses, and what did we do to that light? Snuffed it and put it out because we thought it was crazy. But God continues to still send that same light down here over and over and over and over to try to save us, or try to get us where we need to be at. Now, just take the synchronicity a little bit further, where it really needs to go is to understand that that light that is in Jesus, that light that's in Muhammad, the light that's in Buddha and Krishna and all of those, is within you, it's within you, it's within Brother Abijah, it's within me, it's within Queen, the cat, it's in the dogs outside, it's in these leaves right here. Otherwise, nothing else would be. God sent that one light down here for the entirety of creation as a whole. It appeared in multiplicity.
Told you, more fire. I'm gonna let them flow. You know, we'll stay on synchronicity just for a little while. Do you believe then if everything flows with some type of synchronicity, that everybody should have the same basic and bare minimum moral compass, and morally everybody should have, like, you know, the same foundation? You agree with that?
Indeed, yeah. Everybody does have the same path. Just some got sticks and whatnot in the way. The lessons that we learn on that path are supposed to give us those same heightened ethics and morals that we use in our culture and our civilization and our society to help that build.
To bring it home to your hometown, Macon, Georgia, how would synchronicity be a benefit for your city of Macon, Georgia?
With this place being populated by so many different types of separate churches and people in their own separate paradigms, if everybody was able to somehow experience the fact that the source that's within me also exists within this person that I so-called don't like. So I love this source that's within me so much because it digests my food for me. It wakes me up when I need to get up in the morning. It startles me when something's about to come behind me, like it predicts the future almost. You know, if it wasn't for this thing on the inside of me, I wouldn't be able to experience this existence. And when you can really see it from that big picture, it is so beautiful that now when you come back out with that, you realize that everybody else has that in them too. So if I came back out and I've been able to see how beautiful this chance at existence is, why would I want to do anything to take that away from somebody else? Or why would I want to do anything to just completely shatter somebody else's paradigm? These paradigms and religions can be brought together if we all realize that they all talk the same thing. The same place they were talking about us reaching is within. If only we were able to just clearly see how many different times the story of the Kundalini has been retold over and over and over for the last 7,000 years, you just realize that the Christ is the Kundalini, the Lord Muhammad is the Kundalini. Of course, the Kundalini itself is, I forget what they call that principle in Kemet, but there's so many other cultures that have so-called sacred serpents, which are nothing but serpent energy or nothing but that force that can come down from the unseen to the top of the pineal, down the sacral chakras to the bottom, crosses itself, and then gets stronger as it works its way back up again. It's the same story. And remember now, we're all one ummah, we're all one human family, so it don't matter if I'm a white one or a black one or a yellow one or a pink one. I got that same thing within me, and you do too. You just call it Christ. I just call it Nur Muhammad. Somebody else calls this. Somebody else calls it a word that they can't say, because you really can't say it. It's unknowable, and it exists within, not on the outside.
What would Bilal tell an 18-year-old brother T?
Take your shahada yesterday. Take it yesterday. I know that the journey through Islam, it was kind of a shock for everybody else in the family because it was completely outside of the paradigm. But if you don't study Islam, so study something else. Don't stay in one book. Please don't stay in one book. Don't stay in one paradigm. Don't get comfortable anywhere. Complacency is your worst enemy, especially on this material plane that they had us stuck on for a while. You want to be complacent anywhere? Be complacent in yoga, which is union with the Most High. That's the only place you need to be complacent at. And if you can get that from the Christian perspective, do it with all your heart and follow it. Don't let it go. You can do that through Islam. Do it with all your heart and follow it. Don't let it go. You can do it in India, following Krishna. You can follow Buddha, and you can attain that peace, and you can attain this level of being where you're comfortable. You ain't got to worry about anything. Go get it from that paradigm. But don't go through that rough part in your life when you thought that, dang, it's a lie in this book. Pastor been lying to me for 20 years. I'm going to start beating Negroes over the head with all this truth. No, there's no point in doing it that way. Because the easiest way to make everybody else see stuff from your perspective is to show them that they're looking at it already. Because remember, synchronicity. Hear ye, O Israel, the Lord thy God is one. Kul hu Allahu ahad. If somebody said God moved, then if a person don't feel close to God, you need to ask that person then who moved. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله وهو العلي العظيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق وخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره ومقداره العظيم يا فاتح اللهم صل على محمد بيداد أنفاس مخلوقتي اللهم صل على محمد بيداد أشعار موجودتي اللهم صل على محمد بيداد الحروف الله وضعفتي اللهم صل على محمد بيداد البداية والنهاية من المقدوم وموجود إلى باقي الأبد وصلى الله على خير خلقه محمد وآله أجمعين. Barkasirin Salihu, Barkasirin Salihu, Barkasirin Salihu, Barkasirin Salihu, Barkasirin Salihu, Barkasirin Salihu, Barkasirin Salihu. I mean, worldwide prayer on the community of the prophet. Who's the prophet? Where's that light at?
Those are more fire, more fire.
All right.
Anything else you want to build on today, though?
Just a tidbit. It's always a good thing for somebody in my brotherhood to talk about this next person, but look up Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba and the Murid movement in Senegal. Murid, M-U-R-I-D. You want to talk about a Pan-African in Africa, or a revolutionary before we had this English word called revolutionary? This brother was able to fight back the French for years without going to war, without shooting no guns, without having to go fight or go to this outward jihad that everyone thinks that Muslims go through. This man was such a saint and a scholar that there was not a drop of blood shed at all in his fights and talks back and forth and battles with the French that were trying to take control of the Senegal. But the way that he was able to make sure that the French weren't able to come in and take full-on control is he gave the people in that area Islam. But he gave the people in that area the esoteric Islam plus the exoteric. He gave them everything they needed to understand it from the outside to the inside and back to the outside again, so that they didn't just look at it as some spooky tale that they weren't able to intuit and bring forth into practice. Tell me how many people you know would get subpoenaed and got called to court from the French to go over and try to be exiled. The French tried to exile him because they saw that he was building this strong community in Senegal of nothing but Mooric brothers and sisters that pray to Allah and chant and smile at each other, give everybody salam alaikum, and they live Islam in their culture to the point to where now it's transcended a religion. But when the French called him up to court, the first thing he did when he walked in the courtroom was threw his hands up and said, Allahu Akbar, and got down and made two rak'ah of prayer. What kind of... The French couldn't mess with him. They couldn't mess with him. As soon as he came into the courtroom, the first thing he did was bow down to Allah, bow down to his higher self, bow down to the Most High, whatever name you want to call it. And as soon as the French noticed that and realized how strong and sincere he was behind that, and he really set his intention on it, they realized they can't get to him. This man ain't going to surrender to nobody but Allah. This man ain't going to surrender to nobody but his higher self. And everybody else in Senegal was on that same exact mind state, to the point where when the French came in, all they had to do was look at them Bifal brothers with them long dreads and them clubs, thinking that the Bifal brothers going to hit them over the head with the club. They may have, but no, they Muslim. What I want to hit you for? I don't want to bring you no harm. Me hitting you over the head is like hitting me over the head. I don't want to do that. But they were able to combat the French with non-violent tactics. 200-300 years or so ago, before we had our so-called Black Power movement in America, where all the folks in the movement don't know that they ain't black. Astaghfirullah. I didn't mean to go there, but this brother here was able to realize that in Islam our culture had been preserved. That's another video, but they were able to trace themselves back to Kemet. They know where they came from. They were also able to trace these practices back to figure out where they came from, to determine what they meant when they were using them, how they're applicable to them, and they brought that forward into their own practice. So that Islam you see in West Africa is purely West African. You will never see it anywhere else at all. But remember now, that's not a religion, that's a way of life. That's how they act over there, that's how they live. When somebody calls the prayer, Allahu Akbar, Shahadu an la ilaha illallah, Shahadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah, and everybody runs to go to the mosque, nobody locks their doors, nobody has to set their alarm, nobody got to put the dog in the front yard so the dog can watch the house, because they know ain't nobody in that culture or that society gonna steal from them, because they all uphold the exact same morals and ethics. But on another level, I see the different Sufi orders over there the same, but we got different Christian, Muslim groups over here, but they all work together. You can tell a Murid, you can tell a Bifal, you can tell a Tijani, you can tell a Qadri, you can tell a Shadili by their beads or dress or their practice. But for the most part, they all live in the same country. They all live together, work together, eat together. Some of them are related. They still make prayers together. They're not separated, because they know at the end of the day, all of them are praying to one Allah. And that's it. Now that's some synchronicity right there, where you can have all these different groups out there exist in so-called separate paradigms. When you look at the whole suit, you realize that you can't pull any of the pieces out. It's all one community, one ummah, and not separated at all. So when the French came over there, they didn't see a Murid and a Tijani and a Bifal. All they saw was Muslims that they couldn't fight. So if we all come together up under God, it don't matter what name we call ourselves, as long as we do what they told us to do. We're going to bring forth that synchronicity behind it. We'll realize you don't need to be a religion, because we're one big human family. And that's from Allah.
Indeed. Bro.Bilal, who made the dopest conscious content, and who you rocking with?
You know who make the best and the dopest conscious content is the God bearded Heru. Please follow that bearded Heru on IG, and the only one worth rocking with to either get it done or to watch something to titillate your own pineal. Bearded Heru on IG, man. Hit him up. Always prime content, and it's always gonna be A1 from the source.
Indeed. Appreciate it, my brother. Once again, this is Bearded Heru with Homeland Village, building with my brother Bilal. Peace.
Why they keep on calling my name?